Well, that was a long intro. But welcome back to the Ryan Ripken Show. I guess it's now number 6. My co-host, Brad Smith. Brad, how we doing?
Doing good, my man.
And then, so you are on my left part of the screen. On the other part of my screen, if people have seen him before, Rocco DeSangro. Rocco, hey, buddy. How we doing? Thanks for coming on.
Doing all right. Why am I so much taller than you guys in the screens? It's like not usually my thing because I'm a short.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We're just trying to help you out.
All right.
My posture is terrible. That's what the problem is.
Kind of
really
sink down like this.
Boils down.
Yeah. You know, Rocco, we'll get a photo side by side when I see you on Sunday in studio, just to make sure everyone understands that we are the same height, obviously. But so for everyone that doesn't know, Rocco and I work together, Fox 45. He does Sports Unlimited. He's one of their sports anchors. He was at Ravens training camp this past week, so we're going to dive into a bunch of that. But Rocco and I do the Rip and Rock podcast, which also comes out every Monday, right? And Monday, it's available on these.
Monday. You just take a little drink of water, a little.
Ooh, see a little promotion right there.
A little branding.
A little bit of hey, how you doing right there. But so we do that every Monday. It's available on all the platforms. So just to run you through what we have today, and we're not together, obviously. The plan was to be in Baltimore, all of us in the studio. But for Brad, space
forgot to pay the bill.
Yep.
We'll get the internet situation figured out.
Yeah, so we're going to make do with what we got. So, but what we have today for all of you, well, a lot going on. We're sticking with our hear me outs again. We encourage everyone, if you have a take you're passionate about, something you want to talk about, that's what the hear me out section is. Brad, if you've heard him before, he's very passionate. Rocco's joined the discussion with that. Then we're going to hop into the Ravens. And like I mentioned before, Rock was right there. And besides, if you guys haven't seen him making a remarkable GIF for me to use for the rest of my life, we're going to break down what Rocco saw at the joint practices between the Ravens and the Commanders and just right hands-on what's kind of going on. Talk a little bit more about the team, what it means now with injury situations, what's next for the Ravens, talk a little bit about the Commanders. We have a new segment this week called Finish This, and this will be in a fantasy football type of edition. We'll go to our love to see it, hate to see it, things that have stayed in there. And then we're going to move into baseball, MLB, around MLB. Orioles are off tonight, so then we'll jump in. We'll talk about the O's. A lot of things going well. Grind my gears. What just ticks you off? Get it off your chest. Besides spending time with me, Rocco, stop smiling. And that's about it. Then we'll wrap it up. We'll get out of here and we'll talk about some other things. Or Brad, do we want to talk about that now? What we got coming up next week?
Yeah, let's do it. So before we get into that, I wanted to say that I am actually excited for my Grinds My Gears. I feel like not enough people talk about it. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be at the end of the show. But yes, Ryan and I are going to be live in person over at the Chaucer in Canton. We're super excited to have a partnership with them and continue to grow and build with the community. You guys, so if you want to come hang out with us, we'll be there on Thursday at 7 p.m. I think we're going to actually go live a little bit later because, Ryan, you have pregame over there with 105.7 The Fan, so it's going to take a little bit for him to get across the way. But not to worry, I will be there getting everything set up. So if you want to show up early and help support the Chaucer and the show, we'd love to have you guys over there.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely. And this is something we've been working in for a while. So if you're not going to the game, come hang with us. You want to talk about baseball, a little bit more ins and outs, maybe just have a drink, talk off the record and see what's going on. We'd love to have you over there. Exciting time in Birdland. But yes, doing pregame. And if you're going to the game, stop by Pickles. I'll be there. I'd love to talk to people. Even Rocco stops by from time to time, believe it or not. One more thing I wanted to plug then before we dive into it. another event that's going on, and it's starting to gain more traction. The Ripken Rooster Rumble, which is presented by the Iron Rooster. It's a fantasy football league, but it's a foundation event. We partnered with the Jonathan Ogden Foundation, and it's really cool. And I know, I guess I didn't tell people a lot, where if you want to split with a friend, you both can go in on the league. The info's on ripkenrumble.com, and the proceeds are going to the Jonathan Ogden Foundation. What else we got? We got weekly giveaways. We have sponsors coming each week. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be really cool. Jonathan is going to be at the event on September 8th, and VIP experience to hang out with him and do all the stuff there. Hello, Rocco.
Just scared me. I just think I got a FedEx package. So guys, right back. But
you're good.
No, first time on the show. This is how it's going down.
Hey, it's organic. That's what we love about Rocco. It's, you get what you get. Joe, yes, there probably will be some wings of some nature, hopefully boneless buffs. But in general, the Ogden Foundation will have a chance to hang with Jonathan. We're going to have all food and drinks are included. It's actually going to be 2 events. Go check out ripkenrumble.com. Any questions, you can shoot me a message. That's coming up soon. We only have limited spots, though, so please jump on in. Would love to have you, but that's what's happening for us. And then Brad and I will have much more coming up. This is something that's building steam. We're excited. Not just that event, the Chaucer event, the Ryan Ripken Show. We got a lot of good things. Everything good, bud? What'd you get?
My girlfriend gets wine delivered to my place, even though she's traveling right now. So she just got her 3 bottles of wine, and that's her delivery. And if they don't drop it off, I'm not at the door. That's why they kind of bang on the door so loud. They drive it away, because you kind of got to like sign and be there. So, yeah.
Her wine, or so you're blaming her? It's your wine.
It's her wine. I don't order wine. It's just hers. I mean, I enjoy wine, but it's definitely her wine.
Okay, well, that can be for a different time. We can get into some wine talk. That might be a new segment, some wine down wine talk.
Sorry, guys. It's just like hectic already. I'm sorry.
So anyway, so let's dive into it now. Hear me out. It's becoming one of our staples of the segment. I know Rocco's got his set, but Brad, this is where you shine. So you take it away with the hear me out.
That's right, guys. So listen, I came in to this episode talking about Marlon Humphrey and him being out, and that being a huge concern for obvious reasons. He underwent surgery, as you guys may or may not know, but the surgery, from what I saw, looks like it's going to actually not be as bad as some thought. I think some people were kind of worried that it was going to be like a Liz Frank type of deal, but it's not. And in fact, before this news even broke, I was going to talk in particular about Marlon being out, but the Ravens are still in. And that there was a lot of people on Twitter chatting about, oh my God, Marlon Humphrey is going to be out. The secondary is going to be absolutely atrocious. But we have potentially 2. I think that they could be 2 amazing safeties in the backfield. I think that, or not in the backfield, in the secondary. I think that there's going to be a lot going on in the trenches as well. We're seeing some things develop there. If Jadeveon Clowney actually ends up showing up, and that would be amazing. Marlon Humphrey is a huge loss. Make no mistake about it. But I'm sure Rocco, you'll be able to speak on this a little bit. But news just came out right before we went live. Jeff Zrebeck also just broke this news, along with I'm sure some other folks out there. But so the Ravens deal with cornerback Ronald Darby is a 1-year deal for $1.75 million base salary, in addition to $1.5 million in incentives. And this is what Twitter likes to do, right? They always love to get worried about every little thing that happens. And so now everybody can just relax. Is this dude Marlon Humphrey? No, but I think he's a very good fill-in, at least for the moment, and adds more depth to the secondary. What say you, gentlemen?
Are we talking about the Darby situation, or are we talking about just Marlon in general? Because both, I can kind of touch on both, but
I think touching on both. I mean, look, I mean, Marlon Humphrey is out, and it's a huge loss to the secondary. But I think that Darby was a good addition. and just adding more depth. And when Marlon comes back, he'll still be there, and I think I think we're going to be fine. I was just trying to say the sky isn't falling, people.
I don't think the sky's falling either. I think obviously you never want to see injury or surgery or anything along those lines happen with the Ravens, because it's kind of an ongoing thing, and it seems like it happens every year to big name players, and it's tough for the team to stay healthy at times. But I would rather this happen to Marlon Humphrey if I'm a Ravens fan now than later in the season when you're in the bulk. They face their first 3 weeks, and it seems like he could potentially miss the first 3 weeks. We really don't know what the timetable is going to be, but hypothetically, if he does miss the first 3 weeks of the season, they play 2 rookie quarterbacks. You got Stroud, you got Richardson, you got the Texans, the Colts. The big one is going to be week 2 against the Bengals, Joe Burrow. Who's going to cover Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Boyd, all those guys. So losing Marlon for potentially 3 weeks to start the regular season, I don't think that's the end of the world. This was a lingering issue. It wasn't something that happened specifically in practice. John Harbaugh talked about that, and it's something their guys took a look. I mean, their doctors took a look at, men and women, and just looked and saw and said, you know what, like, this needs to be taken care of now, better now than later. So they got it taken care of. He got the surgery. I did see him post a story. There was it wasn't like of him, but he had like a crutch in a car, and like, so it looks like that did officially happen yesterday, the surgery. Pepe Williams being out until potentially October or later getting surgery. That's 2 blows to the cornerbacks room. And then you had Rocky Sin out. You had Jalen Armour-Davis out. He returned to the field. And Arthur Millette has been out as well. So this is a room right now that is kind of taking a few blows early on. And we're still in training camp, which is a good thing. So you can kind of figure out what that room is going to look like when the season actually begins. But right now, there are some questions with depth. John Harbaugh knows that. Eric DeCosta knows that. That's why they went out and got Darby. He's a PG County native. He was a high school teammate played at the same high school, or was a high school teammate of Tavon Young's. So that's a cool tie, cool Ravens tie as well. Shout out to Tavon Young, Temple guy. But with that being said, Darby is a guy that played in 5 games last season, tore his ACL, but he's a good veteran, and if you can bring him in on a cheap 1-year deal, I think that's big for the Ravens. And like you said, Brad, they can go out and get you Davion Clowney too. I mean, that adds to the depth of the pass rushers as well. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
Yeah, I agree with it. I mean, the thing is, I never had the experience of my feet being a weapon, of an athlete. I was not built for speed, ladies and gentlemen. And now specifically when we're talking about NFL players and we're looking at the corner position, you really have to be shifty and be able to cover some of the fastest players in the world, fastest athletes in the world. And it's just something where I think I wouldn't be surprised if Marlon's not back until after week 6. And again, I think I heard the Bengals say this, and it might've been Jamar Chase. He'd rather Joe Burrow if he was still hurt with his calf, be ready after week 5 than be ready, come back too soon. Because the last thing you want is a re-injury. A re-injury not only is the worst case for the player, but it does demoralize a team a little bit too, because you're hoping, especially your guy, and Marlon's your guy on defense in that secondary, you want to make sure he's good to go. So I'm right there with you. They have the luxury, at least early, and this is going to be a good opportunity for the guys. I'm always a believer that you find out a lot about what you have and who you have in moments. The injuries happen. It stinks. It feels like it's a common story every single year, but you got to live with the hand you're dealt. And I'm sure it's not the last move that we're going to see. So I'm hoping, praying.
And Mike McDonald actually didn't seem to be all that worried either. Here's you might have actually seen this today, Rocco. It's Mike McDonald talking about this whole situation with Marlon, and that obviously it's not a great, you want to see Marlon out there, but he's still very confident in the defense. Here's a clip.
Yeah, I've thought about it, and I assumed that question was going to happen, but I think it's an opportunity to one, just give a shout out to Marlon and the things that he's done, for our defense and our team. I mean, you're talking about a guy that has been here in the offseason, has taken on a leadership role. He's out there every day. He practices extremely hard. He practices the right way, and he's a teach tape every practice. So Obviously, we'll see the length of time that he's going to miss. And we'll miss him absolutely, but we do have good players in our back end, and the expectation is to come in and to produce and execute and play the way that we play. So we'll take it one day at a time. I'm sure there'll be pieces moving from between now and when we get kicked off, and see where we're at. But I think right now we're just trying to figure out where to put all the spots, and I think it'll come into clearer focus as the season approaches.
And obviously they were able to add to those to that spot. We were just talking about Darby. What are your thoughts on that? Like, pretty cheap, obviously. When they needed a spot to fill, Darby just happened to be available. I don't know actually, his stat line and just how good he is. Do you have any info on him, Rocco?
He's a decent veteran corner. I mean, last year, the big thing with him, though, is coming off of the injury, the torn ACL that ended his season. He only got to play in 5 games, had a couple pass deflections, a forced fumble, no interceptions with the Broncos last season because he didn't really have the chance to do so because of that injury.
Right.
So the big thing with him is getting him up to speed and, seeing if this guy's ready to go, because I don't know if you guys have ever torn an ACL before. I haven't, but I've seen the recovery process for guys who have. And it's tough and grueling to get back. But once you get back, it's like looking at a guy like Odell who's torn his ACL twice. It's like once you get back, once you go through that rehab and get your knee back to where it should be, at least in the 90 percentile when it's coming to that, I think that he could be an asset for this team on a 1-year deal, depending on what happens, and a good veteran to add depth, because that is the biggest concern for the Ravens right now. I actually did get to watch Ronald Darby with the Eagles for a few seasons. And I mean, he's a decent corner. I mean, he's never been a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro, but he was a decent corner at times for the Eagles. So I think that's what he can be for the Ravens. They don't need him to be the number 1. They don't even need him to be the number 2 when this is a fully healthy room. But another veteran is never a bad thing to add to a cornerback's room that has struggled with depth because of injuries in training camp early on.
And another thing I'll say, and this is not even with the cornerback side, Darby, it's funny. He was one of the top athletes coming out of high school because, again, being from the area region, you follow guys. And that was one guy I followed personally. So the athleticism's there. The one thing is trusting your knee when you have to play a position like corner. And it's not just with corner. It's the same thing with any athlete. Like, being a running back, being a running or wide receiver corner, whatever it's going to be, you got to be comfortable with all the moves, and you might not be exactly where you want to be. And that's another thing that, you got to keep in mind, and where I think that the value for the Ravens during this time is going to be actually with their safeties, and specifically a guy like Marcus Williams, who can patrol the field out there and give more protection to some of these corners, because he's proven that he can cover more ground and give more help. And I think McDonald will scheme that as time comes. But you can't, if you're a Ravens fan, you got to be happy that they picked up a guy that has the ability and understands the game and has been in the NFL. That's something you got to feel satisfied with. So it's not Marlon, but again, you just need to find a way to right the ship for as long as your main guy is going to be out.
Yeah, there aren't too many Marlon Humphreys in the NFL. Like he's Marlon. He's Marlon for this team. He's Marlon in the league. Like on the field, his play speaks for itself. So tough blow for the Ravens, just cornerbacks room for now. But the hope is that Marlon gets back out there on the field as soon as humanly possible.
Either that or the offense just scores, 100 points a game.
That's another option. Yeah.
I'm cool with that too. Hey, Rock, since that was our first Hear Me Out, give us yours. Welcome to the segment. Hear me out.
Man, hear me out. And you know what this is going to be, because I kind of primed you for this earlier, and you know exactly what it's going to be. So I am a big Sixers fan. I have been my entire life, growing up watching AI, going through the early stages of the process where they were god-awful, just absolute garbage. And I had season tickets before they got terrible. Like me and my buddy Mers, we had a 10-game pack when they had Drew Holiday, Spencer Hawes, I think Thaddeus Young. But then me and my buddy Brandon started going to games. Like we got them cheap, like in the nosebleeds, when they had like KJ McDaniels, Jordan McRae, Ish Smith, Casper Ware, guys that you don't like, the average basketball fan probably doesn't even know exists. So I've been through the ups and downs of Sixers basketball, and I'm thinking that, okay, like there's some hope. There's some light at the end of the tunnel. You get Embiid and Simmons, and when Simmons was there, it looked great. Then they got Jimmy Butler. They added him to the equation, and things were looking really well until that Kawhi Leonard shot that is probably one of the worst moments for me in sports history that went in when the Sixers played the Raptors. So Jimmy goes, whatever. So they get James Harden. You see new life for this team. They get bounced in the playoffs, and James Harden, the saga kind of continues with him. You're not sure if he's going to come back or not. And then there's a clip of him calling Daryl Morey a liar. And Daryl Morey, for those of you out there that don't know, is the GM of the Sixers. He was with Harden in Houston. He's with Harden now in Philadelphia. And he called Morey a liar. Harden did. And he said, I will never play for a team with Daryl Morey on it. Daryl Morey's a liar. He said that to fans in China. Surfaced everywhere. It's a viral clip. And the Sixers are just a dumpster fire. It's like, for me, my hear me out is every time something good happens with the Sixers, they take 5 steps back. And I don't know if I will ever see this team win an NBA championship. I hope and pray that I do at one point in time, but I just am starting to lose hope. And at what point do you just say, like, I don't know, when are things going to get better? Because they're just not. Then it's sad. Then I'm sad.
I'm sad.
My heart
I'm
out of my
sad for you. Hey,
that was a passionate hear me out.
And you felt it. It I'm not going to cry here. I was laughing I laughed so I wouldn't cry for you, Rock.
Yeah.
But how about that whole situation? And it felt like they were so close, and you feel like you're pieces away. Then it's ironic you trade or not trade. You let the one piece Jimmy Butler walk away from Philly, and then he gets just reborn down in Miami, which again, but people thought about it. I know, but I'm saying people didn't view Jimmy that way, and he was able, when I'm saying to reborn, is to show people and showcase that X factor that people talk about. It was him the whole time.
The thing that kills me the most with the team is you get Fultz, he gets traded away. Number 1 overall pick. First you got Simmons, then you got Fultz. So you got number 1 overall, both traded away. Then you have Jimmy Butler when Simmons is still there, and you let Butler walk. And it's like, that was the guy. That was the dog. That was the guy you want to pair Embiid with, and you potentially go to an NBA Finals and potentially win one, because that 1-2 punch, you see what Jimmy was doing. I mean, I don't want to say carrying the Heat because they have really good pieces on that team, but he was carrying the Heat to a Finals. Like Bam Adebayo is a very good player. The guys they have are solid play, but like Jimmy Butler is the guy on that team. So like imagine Jimmy Butler with Embiid for more than one season. The possibilities would be endless. Built around those two. It just didn't happen. And I'm just, I don't know, man. I don't know. It drains me.
It hurts you. And I'm sorry. I'm a guy that actually, I feel for people that love their teams and are passionate about their squads. It's tough. I feel for it. Kind of leads in now because how you're so passionate about the Sixers. And I love Embiid too. Like he is goofy. He's funny. I really enjoy him as a player. I'd love to see him had a chance to go to the finals, but unfortunately in the East, it's not looking ideal. But Rick touched on a point here in this, and I actually know how to click this. Wham!
Whammy.
Hear me out.
I almost clicked. We almost did it again because I was just about to bring it up. Yeah.
So hear me out, and I love this. This is what we're talking about, people. We want moments like this. So I'll read it for those. Hear me out no matter what happens from here on out with the O's. It's been a great year, and I've enjoyed it more than I have in a long time. Rick, very well said. And that kind of leads me into my hear me out on my section. And it's revolving around, it can revolve around the Orioles. It can revolve around any team. If you are passionate and you love something and it's been a really enjoyable ride, don't let little things really hinder the entire experience. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, and I'll start, the Orioles are the perfect example to do this with. And everyone, if you're passionate, I love people's passion. But again, I just talked to someone today. I was giving lessons was working on some like videos and explaining to a kid about like lessons of baseball, right? And they brought up to me and said, what do you remember when you were playing? And I went back and I said, you know what? All the things that I used to care about and shit that used to bother me, I don't know why I let that bother me as much as it did. And because in those moments, and I wish that I didn't let that happen. I think that's the point I'm trying to get across, because there were so many great things that could have been even greater if I had allowed the little stuff to pass. So for this example right now for the Orioles, yeah, they haven't hit as well on this road trip for certain games. They also played some really good pitching staffs, by the way. And we're finding ways to nitpick, or do they have enough to get there? The Orioles just went from losing 100 plus games, being the worst team in baseball, to now being the best team in the American League. Energy is back in the fan base, and it's something that is truly rare. And I'll take it one more step further here, drive it home. Hear me out. Winning is freaking hard, ladies and gentlemen. It is so damn hard. 83 World Series. That team was just recognized at Oriole Park. Do you want to know how many times the Orioles have made the playoffs since 1983? I'll tell you. They've made it 5 times in 40 years. 4 decades, the Orioles have been to the postseason 5 times. And so, like, you look around at other teams like the New York Jets right now in football. Like, yeah, people are saying they could suck. Well, hey, the fans that are excited, they haven't had a chance. And so hopefully they get to experience something. And I'm just saying, for Orioles fans, the team's going to have a chance to be a team that can do something special. But don't let moments throughout a season stress out what could be a really enjoyable ride. That's something you could live for with the rest of your life. That's my hear me out. That was way more than I thought, but whammy, print it. That's what I got.
Ryan throwing out the passion too. Hey, but here's the thing. So I definitely hear you and I don't disagree, but when it comes to the Jets or even the Orioles, like, they make it to the first round of the playoffs and lose. Is that like, are you still okay with it? Or is that a failure to you? Is that something that you're just kind of like, well, this sucks, like that we went through all this just to get one and done?
I'll lead this off, Rock, and you can jump in. I think the expectations for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets is you got to get to the AFC Championship. Super Bowl really is what they want, but you got to make a push. The Orioles, on the other hand, baseball, and this, people don't like this answer, but it's, are you playing your best ball at the right time? And like, if that was the case, the best team last year should have been the Atlanta Braves and they should be champions, but they weren't. They didn't even get past the divisional series. Was it a failure for them? Yes. But was the overall experience unbelievable? Absolutely. So I would preface it that way. If the Orioles got beat in the first round, definitely not a failure. Jets, on the other hand, yes, just because the time clock is ticking for Aaron Rodgers in that window. The Orioles window is just about to be, it's already knocked open.
I don't think, kind of take it from here, I don't think that it would be a failure if they lose in the first round of the playoffs, but I think they have what it takes to at least win one series to advance to the next round. And I think that should kind of be the expectation with this ball club. Maybe not to win a World Series this season, maybe not to get to an American League championship this season. I'm not saying that's out of the question, though, either of those things. It would be awesome if it happens. I would love to see it happen because the atmosphere at Camden Yards would be absolutely electric. And honestly, these fans deserve it. But I think to go out, win a series with this group, because this is a brand new group from what you had in years past, from what you had with all those losing seasons. This is post-rebuild now. And the guys they have now, the Gunners, the Adleys, even the Jordan Westbergs, these young guys coming up through the ranks that just got here last season and this season. These guys are hungry. They're very talented. They were some of the top prospects, if not the top prospects in baseball at some point in their careers. So I think they are going to take this team to new heights. They already have. And no, I don't think if they do lose in the first round, it's a failure. I think to them, they might think it is, but to this fan base, no, because for the next 5 or so years, I really truly believe that this fan base is going to be spoiled with baseball here in Baltimore.
Boom. Well, guys, I thought that was a passionate hear me out, something that we are ecstatic about because that's what we want. So everyone else there, Rick, thank you for putting your input. Rock, you were right on point. Brad, this is like your bread and butter. So for everyone else, continue to let us know. Give us your hear me outs during the week, during the live show. Great. And as always, again, if you guys can hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. We're going to continue to try to upping the content as we go here. So we're excited about that. Now, Rock, now let's move into the Ravens. And I know some people talk about the other team that people in Baltimore really enjoy, the Baltimore Ravens. You got a front row seat this week there, bud, of being at the facility. And not only was it just for seeing the team, you got to see a joint practice and have them go against another opponent in the Washington Commanders. So let's start here. Joint practice. Brad, a lot of fireworks to say the least.
Yes.
Or a lot of hands being thrown early and often, right?
Oh yeah, and we have some clips for you on that. So take a look at this. We have two very clear fights that go on. I have my favorite one just because it's just like, holy shit, did that really just happen? But let's just take a look at this real quick. So pause. I'm just pausing right here next to number 61. The guy in that helmet right there is Justin fucking Tucker, ready to throw hands with any Commanders that get mess with any of his dudes. That is crazy, but this one is even crazier. I mean, I feel like I gotta rewind this. If you guys didn't catch that was Mark Andrews just suplexing a dude. Let's just watch that one more time. That was absolutely insane. Rocco, were you front row for this?
I was front row for both, but back towards the end zone that the Ravens were going to. So I saw both. I saw the Andrews suplex from far away, and then I also saw a little dust up, as John Harbaugh called it, the first one between Tylan Wallace and Emmanuel Forbes and Devin Duvernay coming over. It was
Justin Tucker showed up. He was just like, come at me, bro.
Putting the helmet on, ready to go, was hilarious. And that's
ready for war.
That's a guy I want on my team. A guy that's ready to go, and he's the kicker, and he doesn't necessarily crave contact, but he's a football player when it's all said and done. A football player who is the best football player at kicking footballs. Like he's unbelievable. But I mean, to see that, and they put the WWE music over. Watch Duvernay come in. The WWE music over him. It was like out of nowhere. Watch Duvernay come in. Watch Duvernay come in from the right side. Boom.
Oh yeah.
That's and just an all out. Dust up.
So watch the left side of your screen. The left side of your screen is where Justin Tucker throws the helmet on, and it's just like, let's go, bro. Right here.
Oh,
yeah, there you go. I love that, man.
Yeah, he's awesome. But it's
passion.
That happens in joint practices. I mean, you're going to see that, and you see it all across the league. When two teams have a joint practice and they're not really, I don't want to say suffer consequences, because we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We don't know if there's fines internally or what happens with that, if guys end up getting into it with another team. But seeing that, to me, it's part of football, and maybe not, the part of football, but when it's a physical sport where players crave contact every single play, and they're going 100% every single play, and a lot of these guys aren't going to get to play in the preseason because they're starters. This is like their preseason. It's kind of like their preseason. And when you can do that and maybe not get tossed from a game because it's a joint practice, I mean, it's going to happen. And tempers flare. You're going against a guy every single play. Receivers and DBs especially, they talk so much to each other. So when that happens, things are going to happen. So, I mean, Forbes and Wallace, that didn't surprise me seeing that when he's going after the ball. Wallace got annoyed, threw it, it happens. It happens. So it was, I don't know. It was interesting to see. I don't want to say cool, but it was my first joint practice experience. And I was like, wow, you see it on TV all the time. You see these things happening. And I got to see my first 2 in person, back-to-back plays.
Little scuffle.
So,
I mean, you love the passion. Passion, Brad. We're talking about passion. That's the theme. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but whammy, that you love to see that. Good. Get after each other out there. Literally.
yeah, for sure. Do you think you see more scuffles like that in practice just because they know they can get away with it versus like being in games? You think that's all it is?
That's what I was getting at. I do think that is because you're not nobody got tossed out of the practice. They kind of,
Right.
Harbaugh got them all in the center of the field, and so did Ron Rivera. They got back to business. They probably told them, guys, knock it off. We're trying to get ready for a preseason game, and you're hurting us more than you're helping us. Because honestly, as a coach, that might be the case. But I mean, I think the fans loved it. The fans they enjoyed those videos, and no one got hurt out of those 2 that I saw or know of. So it's kind of with that, it's no harm, no foul. It's just 2 teams that are physical that don't get to necessarily see a lot of each other, but they're going to get to see a lot of each other this week, or they did leading up to Monday, that preseason game in FedEx Field.
Yeah. So would it be sorry, I was just thinking about this. I was laughing that, was it the joint practice last year? Aaron Donald's flinging his helmet at somebody.
Yes. Yeah. He was playing whack-a-mole with the helmet. Yeah.
Yeah. And so again,
just swinging it.
Do's and don'ts. Maybe that can become a new segment. Do, make a nice play. Don't take your helmet off and whack the opposing player. But again, in practice, it's just a different environment. You're going to get away. It's you can work out some of those issues because, in a game, nationally televised, people are watching, and then that's where really your team gets hindered. And obviously, if you're throwing a helmet in a game, I can guarantee you're probably getting suspended, not just kicked out. So it's different, but it is. So I think I saw some other videos. I think Micah Parsons was throwing hands for the Cowboys.
Max Crosby for the Raiders, and who was it? Got into it. Cam Akers. I think it was Akers and Max Crosby got into it. Well, I think the thing was Max Crosby got into it with 5 Rams, and Akers was one of them. I didn't get to see the whole video, but there's a screenshot of Crosby with his hand in the face of somebody, and there's 4 Rams surrounding him, and that he wanted to smoke. That's some guy. Sometimes guys do like a guy like Mark Andrews, who's so competitive. His competitive nature comes out. I feel like he was just waiting for something to happen where, yep, you see it. And that was, I couldn't tell from that angle if it was
he's just finishing the play,
a low shot, or I don't want to say it was a shot to the head or a shot towards the head if it wasn't, but Andrews felt some type of way about how that happened, whatever it was. And he got up and he
just walked away.
That dude, I'll tell you what, he's a competitor. And after that, it was him and Forbes, and nothing really happened out of that. But he caught a pass behind Forbes, and he just kind of took the ball and he just threw it at Forbes, and he just walked away. And Forbes and him were jawing back and forth. And it's that's football. It's competitive. It's entertaining to see, and it's fun. And if I'm a Ravens fan, those are the guys you want to have on your team. The guys are have that competitive edge, like Mark Andrews, like Tylan Wallace, who has had a very, very good training camp, and he had a touchdown in the preseason, by the way. So, baseball wise, Rip, I'm sure you've been involved in your fair share of scuffles, and you guys probably laugh about it in the locker room afterwards, and just, it is what it is. And the next day you go back out and you have a good time, and it's you put it in the past.
Oh yeah, we've had some conversations. Baseball can be a little bit different, but it's all about having that, you're going to try to show me up type of thing. that's going to be a mistake. Like that's where that mentality comes. Baseball, you can't get so emotional because you have to be able to harness it. If your emotions get too much of you, it's with any sport, right? We see it. But football, you can actually go and hit somebody. You can legit go like, I'm going to take this out on you. And the rules have changed from like, even the last 5 years where, and one of my favorite videos actually is from years back when Ed Reed thought he got a face mask on a punt and he's mic'd up and he's yelling like face mask. And then he busts his butt down the field and absolutely levels a guy blindly, just no regard. And you don't think that had a little bit more emotion behind it? Like, you're damn right. Feel bad for that guy.
I think I saw someone say, like, after they saw those videos, it's like the Baltimore Bullies are back. And I was like, like fans do truly like love that type of grit, especially in the city when their teams go out and not necessarily get into scuffles all the time, but when they have that edge to them, fans love it. They really do. I feel like they want to see that edge.
Quick before we get to the next one, this just reminded me of this, and Rocco, you and I had an exchange on Twitter about this whole thing about bullpens clearing whenever there's a scuffle in baseball. Like, what's the point? It never makes any sense. The fight's already over by the time the bullpen gets out there. Ryan, do you have any insight on this at all?
If you guys really want to see something, you guys should go watch the Armando Benitez, Tino Martinez, which started the brawl in New York. I think it was like 97, 98, maybe. I could be wrong. Could be 96, one of those years. And Tino gets 100 miles an hour right in the back after Benitez gave up, I think, a go-ahead home run. And there were people running in from the Yankees bullpen and their players that were all about to start fighting. And then Benitez puts his hands up and they all like, oh shit. And they back up. And that fight actually went into the dugout. So for anyone that loves brawls, that one's up there because that literally, the bench is cleared and that thing just kept going. So, but for most cases, you're right. It's like a courtesy, like, okay, let's get out there. We got to get down there. And some guys are looking for action. Some people want to get involved. Other people, though, it's like you want to be there for your team. We're probably just going out there, getting the legs loose. Okay, everything's calm. All right, back out there. So that's
I'm watching it right now. Who went? Like, there were two bullpen guys that ended up going at Benitez, and
best of luck.
Oh yeah.
So they just ran away. Big dude. That's just it. We're gonna have a different day for just brawls. So let's get those. But you brought up Cam Akers, running back for the Rams. Let's talk about the running back for the Ravens. Rock. J.K. Dobbins got some nice footage of him doing his drills. He looked like a prime Rocco DeSangro on the JV team. Just kidding, but
didn't even do that. I couldn't even make the JV team. I never had the makings of a varsity athlete.
Well,
shout out to the Sopranos. No, nobody. All right, well, crickets. Anyway,
yeah. You're a good kid, Rock. Anyway, the Dobbins is back. You got to see that. You got to watch it. What was kind of your takeaway seeing him out there? What the vibes were, the feel was, and above all, how'd he look?
I think he is so happy to be back. I really do, and I think we weren't sure how long this thing was going to hold, going to last. We're still not sure what it kind of was. Was it an injury? Was it a contract situation? Was it a little bit of both? And we're not going to know until we speak with JK for the first time. And that may not be for some time, but it's a thing of, and he might not even want to talk about it. He might just want to be like, hey, I'm happy to be here, whatever. But it's always good to see JK on the field because number one, what the guy's capable of, how good he is in the backfield for the Ravens. And with the receiving core this year, with Mark Andrews being Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely entering his second season, how much are they going to run the ball in Todd Monken's offense? I'm not sure. JK's thing is this. He is great for the Ravens when he's out there and when he's healthy, and he has proven that. And I think that's why there was some frustration last season in that wild card game with Greg Roman in the locker room when Dobbins was like, I want the ball. And I don't blame him for wanting that. I think with JK, it was great to see him back out there. He's not participating. Well, when I was there, because I was off today, but he was not participating in team drills since he's been back. He was doing individual drills, which is kind of the ramp up period. It's standard for a Ravens player to come back. Rashad Bateman kind of doing the same thing. But when he's back out there and when he's healthy, he's the number one, and there's no doubt about it in the backfield. Like Justice Hill he's had a great first preseason game. Gus Edwards is going to rumble Gus the bus. He's going to do his thing, but J.K. Dobbins is the guy in the backfield. And if he's healthy out there, it helps this team that much more going forward because he's averaging five and some change like throughout his career as far as average, yards per carry goes. So looking at those numbers when he's out on the field, like you're getting that out of J.K. every time he touches the ball. Like it's kind of hard to come by.
Did y'all see this video of him blowing up his trainer?
What's that?
This video.
Woo!
Yeah,
blew up.
Like his nickname.
Whammy.
He kind of brought it on last season is El Toro, which is the bull. So he's like, he showed it right there. That's
just
incredible.
blew him up, bro.
Yeah. And that's like JK runs with a full head of steam all the time when he's out there. I mean, he just really seems like he loves the game. And he's someone who's easy to root for when he's out there because he's usually all smiles. He's got a great personality. And, you can feel some type of way about him being out for that time. We still don't know what it was. Lot thought it was potential holding situation. Could very well have been, but he's out there now. That's all that matters. And he's getting used to this Todd Monken offense. And that was the big thing because we didn't know when he was going to come back. And at that point, it's like, how far behind is he going to be when he does get back? And it's something I asked Monken. He was like, I don't know because he hasn't taken the reps yet. Well, now he's taking the reps. That's good. We'll see where JK is when the season begins.
I think it's fair to say just of all the pieces that they have, and we'll jump into that next. I think the player for me personally that I want to see out there and now being healthy is JK. Yeah. Like I loved him out of college. He was, being worked in his rookie year. Then unfortunately what happened the following year, he has to miss the whole season. Then trying to get right. You're seeing the glimpse of it. Like the dude's a baller. And I think that's something it's a guy you want to root for and a guy you want to see succeed. And regardless to your point, like if he did sit because of business is business. I think we've talked on this show about it. Brad and I have, like, I don't blame people and especially a guy like JK, if he doesn't get a contract or not, I can see why he would be even more hesitant in preseason because he was really a play away from his whole of us seeing that JK that we were hoping to. And then instead we got the opposite and we lost JK for an entire season with more ramifications. That was more than people even knew he was dealing with.
The Ravens have been, and Brad, you can touch on this as well. Because you've seen it firsthand too. It's the Ravens have been robbed over the years because of injuries and the backfield, especially like when they bring in Justice Hill, Dobbins, Gus, those guys have struggled to stay on the field together. And you look at the 2021 season, especially when JK and Gus didn't even play because of the knee injuries. So it's like, what if? And I hate to continue to play the, coulda, woulda, shoulda game or what if, but like, what if JK and Gus had stayed healthy throughout the 2021 season? What would that backfield look like right now, fully healthy 100%? What could it look like? What could those possibilities have been last season? It's like a lot of what ifs with the team, the offense, and just the injury bug that's kind of hit them over the years.
Well, and that's what keeps the GMs awake at night, right? Like, if I'm Eric DaCosta, I'm looking at that and thinking to myself, I'm not paying this guy a shit ton of money because of what's happened before. Like, I think that obviously and as Ryan said, like we've talked about this, like we're not blaming players for going out there to get every dollar that they can get. But at the same time, if you're the GM and you throw a bunch of money at a guy who just sits on the bench because of injury or what have you, maybe he just, doesn't have it, can't hack it that year or whatever. it's just it's a seat that I certainly don't want. That's for damn sure. And on the Ravens side of things, it's definitely a seat that I don't want. I think that with JK, I do believe that there was some sort of element of him just sitting out and kind of seeing what it was. But I think the longer that it went on, the worse it was actually going for JK. I mean, we talked about this, Ryan, about the Saquon deal, and that it really wasn't a ton of money. It was a 1 year, $11 million deal. And then the Dalvin Cook situation was also not like a ton of money either. So you got to wonder if JK was seeing that and being like, well, I might as well just put my pads on and get out there and kind of prove to everybody that I'm worth what I think I am.
I don't blame him for that at all. And do you know who the highest paid running back in the league is right now?
McCaffrey?
Bijan Robinson.
Oh.
As far as I'm pretty sure that's like average by year.
Average value, yeah.
I want to look at the highest paid running backs by year, but like it's I saw a list with Bijan was up there. McCaffrey's getting it overall because of his monster deal, but I think when it goes as far as average, it is, where's Bijan at on here? Check it out. Check me on that. Because if I'm wrong, I'm going to seem like a really big idiot. But I definitely.
Well, I mean that's you already know the answer to that, Rocco.
Someone fact check me.
I got you. I'm working on it.
Average by year. I think it's like.
We'll look it up. Yeah, we'll look it up. But I think your point is what's interesting because Bijan was first round pick, drafted high in the draft too. Like this wasn't like he was a late first round pick, and then on top of it. Running back position is very valuable for the shelf life that you think that running back is going to give you what you want to transform your offense. Hence why Bijan went so high here. Why Saquon Barkley went so high. Zeke, Leonard Fournette.
2023 season. That's what it is. Bijan will be this list has him making 13.72 mil. This season, McCaffrey at 12 mil. McCaffrey's the highest paid running back in the league. But like, that's like crazy to think like, okay, a rookie running back who hasn't even played a snap yet is going to be the highest paid running back this season. Like, and JK's sitting back like, where's that for me?
Well,
yeah, that's a great stat right there.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I mean, and you look at Bijan Robinson, and even in 24, it's a 7.7 million projected to make, and 6 million after that, and another 5.5 in 2026, which he'll probably try to renegotiate a new contract then. But like, still, that's 26 million over the next 3 years.
Yeah, right? But like to see that 13 mil, man. I mean, good for Bijan. He had a fantastic career at Texas to be able to do that, but like to not even play a snap yet and to get that money is like, I mean, you look at the list, McCaffrey, 12 million. I think this list may or may not have came out before Dalvin got his contract, but it's Kamara, 11 million, Aaron Jones, 10 and some change, Chubb, 10 and some change. And then, so this came out June 22nd. So that was way before Cook got his deal. And before Barkley got signed that 1 year deal?
1 year.
Yeah. So that's like, I mean, crazy.
It's how the cookie crumbles. Hey, another player that we're talking about, first round pick that has drawn some buzz. Zay Flowers.
Sure.
You got to see Zay. Peter King has said it. We've seen videos of Zay Flowers. I mean, you got to see it. I mean, what is your impression? And give Ravens fans right now something to go with. Like, what are you seeing from the Rook?
I mean, Lamar called on the joystick because he's just so shifty out there. And like, he really is. This dude is just must-watch television. And he hasn't played a snap yet. Preseason he has, but it's like when he gets out there, not one-on-one because there are going to be 11 guys on the defense, but I'm saying like when he gets out there one-on-one against a corner, you're going to really see like what he's able to do, because watching him in one-on-ones, and I know one-on-ones, they kind of favor the offense, and it's kind of tough to gauge how good someone is based off of those one-on-ones. But Zay Flowers, watching him in 7-on-7s, watching him in 11-on-11s, and then watching him in one-on-ones, like this dude is so shifty. And like to get him where the Ravens got him, like he could very well, I mean, I don't think it's a hot take to say he could be the best receiver in this draft because of where he was drafted, but I mean, he could win Offensive Rookie of the Year with what he's able to do. There are a lot of good offensive players out there, Bijan being one of them, but like the one that the Ravens posted that you're going to see right here, where he just loses 25, and like that move, that's going to be tough to beat because his footwork for a rookie is so great. He takes care of his body. Mentally, he's there. Like as far as like just loving the game of football, you see it. So like this is a guy that seems like he really wants to win, and it really, really, truly does seem like the Ravens got a great one out of Zay.
I mean, we're hoping he's in like I know he's smaller, but he's built too. Like he looks like
yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people.
That's right. That's the word. It's yoked, jacked, cut up, whatever you want to call it. Like he's like, no, don't. Yeah, I thought you were. Yeah,
it's like me and my shirt, right?
You think you're in shape. You talk about how much like I have a 6-pack all the time. Like Zay Flowers has like an 8 or 10-pack. Like that dude is shredded. Like it's ridiculous. So like, what were you saying, Brad? Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It was just crazy to me that like when he was drafted, that there was a lot of fans and a lot of even media out there was kind of like comparing him to like a Hollywood Brown 2.0. And to me, it's just like, that is the most insane comparison. I think if anything, especially now, I would say that he's more akin to Steve Smith Sr. When you look at just his attitude and obviously his shiftiness and just the way that he's built, that to me, I think is a more of a fair comparison, is more of like a young Steve Smith Sr. than a Hollywood Brown. I mean, I get the guy's a little bit on the shorter side, but that's really the only similarity that him and Hollywood Brown actually have. I've seen, and I can't remember who actually posted this, but I saw that right before Marlon Humphrey went in for his surgery, before it was announced, that Zay Flowers, the rookie, goes in and walks up to Marlon Humphrey and tells him that it's going to be a long practice that day. I mean, this is the kind of guy that we got in Zay Flowers. It's wild.
He
There he is. All right. I was wondering if you're going to speak or not, or just look away. So
this is awkward silence. We're really good at the dead air. It's cool. It's cool.
I love dead air. No, in all honesty, though, sorry, I heard something. It's just my 10-year-old laptop that might explode. So all good here. But the thing is seeing the pieces around, and I think the offense is looking different. It's encouraging. I also like seeing the videos of Zay Flowers blocking too, by the way, being in on the play, doing what it takes to win. That's what you want to see. And obviously being able to use it. But we talked about him. Now, OBJ, what have you seen so far as the connection? Like we've heard it. We've seen some videos where I saw one where OBJ was underthrown by Lamar. But I mean, that happens. I'm not worried about that. But what I want to know is, how does he look? You know, I love his attitude. I love what he brings. But does it look like a guy that kind of feels refreshed despite the injuries?
Yeah, absolutely. And talking to him after practice in when he has his media availability and he speaks to all the reporters, you get that sense that OBJ is just like, he's back. He's happy. He's talked about it. He's like, I've been away from this game for, was it like 900 days, something like that? No, I don't think, maybe not. But he said some number. I forget. I'm bad with math. I'm bad with numbers, so I'm probably wrong. But he's been away since that injury in the Super Bowl. Missed the entire last season, and now he's back. So he hasn't like taken a snap against an opposition until this joint practice because of that. So he spoke on being back. It was funny because someone said, like, I think it was like he blew by Emmanuel Forbes, and he's like, or something was said about that. And OBJ like did like a leg stretch, and he's like, yeah, like I still got it. He's like, what's his 40 time? Basically, like joking around. And just to see someone like, I think he's at a different point. Well, he definitely is, being 30 years old now. But you remember the OBJ that was just like in the spotlight all the time and just crave the attention and all that. And I think he still does in a good way. And he's really embraced Baltimore and the culture. But to see a guy whose mindset has kind of changed, it's like he went from being a guy that was like, I need the ball in New York, and he got frustrated when he didn't, to I'm not sure yet what it's going to look like with however many games he plays for the Ravens. You hope it's more than 17, but I see a guy that knows his role. He knows who he is now. He's the vet. He sees the young guys coming in. He sees the talent that is in front of him as far as the Ravens wide receivers room. And it is cool to see, but seeing him out there, like, he's still got it, man, to be able to blow by some cornerbacks, to make great catches in traffic. Like, Rick just said it in the chat. He's definitely grown up a lot. And I really, truly believe that. It's cool to see Odell Beckham Jr. kind of embrace this role in Baltimore.
Hey guys, I want to just pause real quick because I do have some breaking news. We just got done talking about Mark Andrews and the suplex that he put on Danny Johnson. But turns out that Danny Johnson actually got injured from this. So this is from Pro Football Talk. Says the Commanders cornerback Danny Johnson suffered a rotator cuff injury when he was slammed to the ground by Ravens tight end Mark Andrews after the play during the joint practice. Just to give you guys a reminder of what happened during that. Here is that video that took place and a fight actually obviously ensued, but there's the the body slam that is supposedly brought upon that injury on Danny Johnson. Crazy stuff.
That's not good.
Yeah, unfortunately, that reason you actually could bring up the video again. I know you love playing the video because of Mark Andrews. Just that's just the only thing with fights is when something happens that you feel like could be prevented, right? Like temper's gonna flare. I think that's the worst case. I think people love passion. Players need to be passionate. But you just got to be careful because obviously one extra thing could cause something. So hope the best for him. That's a bummer. But that's unfortunately what can happen in these situations.
Yeah, that's really tough to see.
It is. Back on to finish this kind of off with the OBJ talk. It was funny, OBJ with Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson, whichever people call him, Chad Ocho Cinco, was saying that he thought that Odell would have been the first $200 million man in the NFL history, as far as especially a guy that position. Now, I think that's a little bit extreme, but OBJ was polarizing. I know that he handled himself very well, Rock, when he spoke to the media and everything with that.
He did, and OBJ was like, I saw that clip, like it was the Ocho and Uno show, and it was Chad Ochocinco and Cam Newton, and he said that Ocho was like, if Odell never had those injuries, 2 torn ACLs, or torn ACL twice, he would have been the first $200 million player in the NFL. That could very well hold true. And I asked OBJ after practice, I was like, hey man, like, just curious your thoughts on that. Like, what do you think? And
I have that clip.
I didn't know if you had the clip or not. I could have read the transcript.
Yeah.
That's even better. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ahead and play it.
I don't know if you saw the clip of Ochocinco, but he said that if he didn't get hurt, he would have been the first $200 million guy. Yeah. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that?
I seen it, and I hate the coulda, woulda, shoulda. But I can sit up here and tell you, as someone at 4 or 5 years old, I always felt I was one of the best athletes. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So I don't know about 200 million. I would have definitely loved to have that. But I just know that if I would have loved to seen what would have happened in my career if I had never been hurt. But I think God placed this journey for me to be here specifically, to be able to be exactly who I am today. And the adversity that I've been through will allow me to, later on in life when things hit, I think I'll be able to handle it a little bit better.
Yeah, and you guys heard it, and those are the things that you talk about maturity. That answer right there, like, you see I don't want to say a different Odell Beckham Jr., but one who is, it's really cool to see how he's matured over the years, how he seems like he's in a obviously a much better mindset than he was when he suffered the injury, because that had to be a grueling, last year to go through that, to be away from the game of football, and not only to suffer, a torn ACL once, but a torn ACL twice in your career. So, I mean, he said it. He kind of said it without saying it, like coulda, woulda, shoulda. But like, I think in his mind, he believes that he could have been the first $200 million deal too, because that guy, right? I mean, he's so marketable, first and foremost. The way he embraces every place he plays. I mean, he's already got his hair dyed purple. That's really cool to see. He was wearing the Baltimore, the City Connect Orioles hat. That was dope. He already put on a kids camp here. It's like a guy like that is so marketable, and that money, that goes far beyond just your play on the football field at times, because it's a guy you want to invest in if you give him a deal like that. And I think that he could have earned himself one of those deals if he never suffered those injuries, for sure.
Would have been fun. Would have been really fun to see. He was. People can say overrated, say whatever you want. He was electrifying. You don't have to like him, but during that time, but man, it was fun. It was really, really fun to see happen. But hey, life throws at you. I think we all have kind of those what if moments, and you can go down a different path. So I really like the outlook, because it's just the reality. You can't change anything. Can't change it. It's a part of it. Awesome. So we talked about the pieces with the Ravens offense. We talked about the secondary earlier, so we'll sit away from that about being thin. But we want to talk about then. You got it. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say we have one more Ravens topic, and that was the Mark Andrews, conversation.
Yeah, that's
right. with all the offensive pieces that are being put together. Mark Andrews was the number one target for Lamar Jackson since those two have been a pair, right? So, is this going to change the dynamic between Lamar and Mark Andrews? And Jeff Zrebeck tweeted out the other day that Ravens tight end Mark Andrews seemed to be frustrated after Jackson after a Jackson touchdown pass to Flowers. Andrews spiked his helmet hard enough to where it looked like part of it broke, and then he took a knee off to the side and eventually walked back inside himself just as practice was ending. Now, I mean, obviously we can speculate on whatever the heck that was about, but and maybe you have some insight on this, Rocco, as well. But it is that something to the effect of, Mark has gotten so much attention from Lamar because he was, let's face it, the wide receiver for the team, for the last couple of years. It seemed as if.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything like that. I think it was, I'm pretty sure the play before that, and Jeff put that in his tweet in that thread. It was the play, if I'm thinking of this correctly. Lamar threw like a fade to the corner of the end zone, and Andrews went up to catch it, and Forbes knocked it away. And I think Andrews was like pretty frustrated about that. And then I think it was more so like he still had that play in his mind, not getting ticked off that Zay Flowers made a play. I think Mark Andrews is the ultimate team player, and he's going to ride for his guys, no matter what. I think it was more so for him. That whole thing was just frustration because he is such a fierce competitor. And I watched him go over, take a knee. He was talking to Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely was out there in shorts and a t-shirt at the time. And he dapped him up. And then Mark dapped him up and he walked back. But I didn't see the helmet throw. Jeff catches everything because he's like the guy. So he's like, he sees everything. That guy is like so good at what he does. But for Andrews, I think it's just frustration because he had a really good practice before that. Like, he's still Lamar's guy. And I think you're going to see that this season. Like, Andrews, if there's nothing downfield, Andrews is there. Even if there is a throw downfield, Andrews is still there. Like, he's going to get his catches. He's going to make his plays this season. The hope is that he stays on the field healthy this season. I think he missed 1 or 2 games last season, a few games. And that's when Isaiah Likely, it kind of gave way for him to step up throughout the season. But Mark Andrews is still a dog. He's still that guy. He talks about being a dog, and that's just who he is. So I think that was really frustration about the previous play for sure.
Makes sense. Well, Marky Mark, hammer at home in fantasy. Do we want to touch on with Owe real quick, or should we move to the next subject here, Brad? for time?
It's completely up to you guys. We are running a little bit behind, but I'm down with whatever. I think you know what? Let me pause. Let's go ahead and get into some real quick Commander stuff because I know that you wanted to touch on those, Ryan. So just for you, let's get into the Commanders real briefly, and then we do have a new segment which I'm super pumped to get started on.
Yeah, so we'll just touch a little bit on the Commanders because we're not just all playing Homer here. I wanted to touch on just with the Commanders in the sense of that I'm really excited for them for so many reasons. First off, you have energy in the building because you changed ownership. First and foremost, you have a fan base that's being, re-energized with it. They're ecstatic. And then on top of it, you're getting Chase Young back. The NFC East is going to be tougher, but this Washington team has pieces on both sides of the football. We talked about what they can possibly do on defense when they add in Chase Young back and they got a strong defensive line. Then on offense, they got Dotson, Scary Terry, Curtis Samuel, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. The biggest thing is going to be, what is Sam Howell going to do? And I think there's been a few parts that have been out there. I know Brad has a clip of Sam Howell making a little throw here, a little sidearm pass, which again could just be more for show than anything. But hey, the biggest thing for this Washington team is going to be quarterback play. And there it is right there. A little bit of dropping the arm slot down, almost like a baseball player right there, trying to turn two. Yeah. But Sam Howell, the team is going to be, how they do is going to be dependent on how he plays. And I'm excited about it. And then I know there was another quote that Kendall Fuller, one of the cornerbacks for the Commanders, was talking about Sam Howell. And I don't know if you have that one, Brad, or not. I can just read it right here. Oh, you got it right there. Hey, now stop traffic. So I think right here saying about it, I remember the other day he made an out route on me, which pissed me off. But just to see him be able to put those throws in spots where defensive backs can't get it. I think the good NFL quarterbacks, that's what separates a lot of times from college to the NFL. To see him have that much confidence to make those types of throws and to throw them like that, it's just been good to see. And that was one of the Washington reporters. If you scroll up just so I can see the name of I got it right here. Nikki.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Nikki reported that. We'll leave it at that. But again, it's just really cool to see. So obviously that's not fluffing up. That wasn't him saying he's unbelievable, but that was an encouraging part. And that was giving an honest assessment. So I'm really excited for Sam Howell. Hopefully that can be what they want him to be. Forbes, even though he was in on a lot of plays and people can say pass interference, he does seem like a scrappy player that could really help that defense as well. So this was a really good test for the Ravens. I think the Commanders actually are going to be more competitive in a NFC East that's going to be very challenging. So I'm pumped about it. That's what I want to touch on. Rooting for the Commanders, always a Ravens fan first, but I do want to see the Commanders do some things. I'm excited to see. That's what I got. Now we can move on.
All right. So, Rocco, we have our very first new segment that now you get to be part of. It's called Finish This. That's what Ryan aptly named it. And it's basically a fill in the blank type of situation. We came up with 5 questions, a fill in the blank, and we want you and Ryan, of course, myself, will give our fill in the blanks here. But so Rocco, I'll give you the first one. So J.K. Dobbins will finish as a top blank running back in fantasy football.
Wow. That's tough. I'm going to say 15, and that is nothing against JK's talent. It is more so with the Ravens offense and how many weapons they have. So I'm going to play it safe and say he'll finish as a top 15 running back. I don't want to say top 10 because I think they're going to throw the ball a lot, spread it out a lot, and there are so many weapons on the offensive side of the ball and only one football. So top 15.
I think that's a solid ranking. I think a lot of people are really curious. I mean, a lot of people, we're looking at the list right now. He's outside of that top 15. A lot of people have him maybe in that 15 to 20 or later range. So hey, whammy. I'm cool with it.
All right,
Brad,
so
would you like, you go ahead, knock it out.
Sorry, yeah, I'm trying to get through it, fellas. So actually, if you want to, let's do this. It is live after all, but let's just call an audible here. Ryan, do you have the questions pulled up in front of you?
I do.
Why don't you ask the next one?
Do you want to do that? Okay. Hey, Rocco.
Hey, Ryan.
Ravens wide receiver that you won in fantasy football this year is blank.
Zay Flowers.
Okay.
Zay Flowers. The reason why, quick reasoning, because I know we're strapped on time. Odell hasn't played, he missed all last season. You don't know what you're going to get out of that fantasy wise. You don't know if he's going to be a three down guy out there on the field. I think Zay Flowers, his motor is just high. He's young. He could be used in so many different ways. And I think you're getting a preview of that in the preseason, even though he played kind of limited snaps. But Zay Flowers is the guy I want if I'm a fantasy football owner as far as a receiver on the Ravens roster right now.
Yeah,
Boom.
I'm going to go with the same. I mean, I was going to say Mark Andrews, but I guess if I have to go with the wide receiver this year.
Specifically. Yeah.
No, it's wide receiver. It's wide receiver. Brad's just, what the hell Brad's doing over there.
Just being Brad.
Brad being Brad.
If I had to go with the wide receiver, I gotta go to Zay Flowers too. Like, and it's not even necessarily because of your reasoning, Rocco, but also I almost wonder if OBJ is going to be that decoy, right? Like he's going to get the double coverage, and because many teams don't know what to expect from Zay Flowers, right? You're not going to double Zay over OBJ, at least right now, right? So, and maybe there's coaches out there that know better, but I think that you're right. I think that Zay Flowers, for multiple reasons, would be the one that I would pick.
Hey, I like Zay for the youth. I would love this personally. I'd love to see the OBJ bounce back as well. So I'll sprinkle in there. And wouldn't it be great to have 2 1,000-yard receivers? But to your point, Mark Andrews is going to be involved. Mark Andrews is probably going to be that second 1,000-yard player. That's just what he brings to the table. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, Brad, back to you for option number 3.
All right, here we go. So the quarterback I'm drafting this year is blank. Who's your QB1?
Rocco.
Start it off. Let me think.
Do you want me to go here?
Yeah.
All right.
And this is again for value. But quarterback for value that I would take. I'm going to give you one. I think Justin Fields because of his running ability, but I'll give one that no one's thinking of and this is value and you can get him for way later in the draft. I really like Geno Smith to then, for value of what it is, of what they have, the receivers that they have, Geno on a points per game basis last year. Again, this is a value. If I'm not taking a quarterback early, I will take Geno in like the 10th round or later, a guy that has the ability to finish in the top 12. You have DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, you have Tyler Lockett, you have 2 solid running backs. Give me Geno Smith out there, and also with a little ability to run. I just think the value of where he is. But Fields is like the upside of like the guy's going to run for 1,000 yards.
I think like for me, and it's tough. Like I'm thinking of value too, and not like the big name guys because I'm in a keeper league, not a keeper league. It's a dynasty league. So I already have my team set. I have Geno Smith as my backup and I have Josh Allen as my starter. So Josh Allen, I think he finished number 1 or number 2 in fantasy football as far as quarterbacks go last year. But guy for me, because of the weapons he has, and if he can stay healthy is the big thing. But the receivers he has, it's not so much him, it's the receivers and what they can do after the catch, and he gets points for that. It's Tua. It's Tua. If you're going to take him later, Waddle, you got Tyreek Hill. They're 2 burners. And you think about the yards after catch, that's going to add to Tua's yards. I would take him, but you're going to risk, like, is he going to be able to stay on the field? And that's the big question with the concussions, with the injuries. Like, I'm telling you what, though, being able to cover Tua at Alabama, like seeing him, like those guys running across the middle, he's going to hit it. He is one of the better, like, slant guys that I've seen when it comes to passing, feeding them right where they need to be fed, and where they're able to create separation out of college. So I think with those 2 guys, it's going to be a pretty solid season for him.
Interesting. I would say the QB I'm drafting that not named Patrick Mahomes is going to be Joe Burrow. Last year, I mean, look, so all the pieces that Joe has had, the weapons he's got are still there. Obviously, he's got the injury going on, but there are rumors that he could potentially be ready by week 1. We'll see. But I think that's what gives him perhaps some value as well, not necessarily to the reasoning that Ryan had for Geno Smith, but perhaps Joe Burrow goes down a little bit further in the draft because of the calf strain. But listen to this. Last year, he had 35 touchdowns, 4,400 yards. He did not have a single game where he didn't throw a touchdown, and 12 of those touchdowns were multiple touchdown games. So I think that Joe Burrow is primed to do that again this year. For those reasons, I'm going with that guy.
I like it. And to just close out my point real quick on Geno, just because I pulled it up and I'm like that. Guess where Geno finished last year?
He was top 10, right?
Mm-hmm. He's
he
top
7?
10 in some leagues. In one of the leagues, and I was about to say exactly, and I think we might have an extra point for a quarterback touchdown for Geno, but regardless of him, he was finished 5th. So okay. I'm not saying he's going to finish 5, but if you can get a top 10 quarterback later, and same for Brad's reason, why not? Yeah. I like the things. I like us going outside the box here, guys. Yes. We'll have some deep sleepers in the future as we move more forward towards fantasy football, but I love it. You guys are some good kids. It's great. Next question then, and Brad, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Yeah.
The running back situation that you at the moment's giving you the most headache that you, if you had a choice to stay away from, what team would it be?
For me, it's the same team every year, and it's the Patriots. And yeah, I know they got Zeke, but they don't. There's always a committee up there. You never know what Belichick's going to do as far as the running back situation is concerned. And maybe this year's different, but I highly doubt it. And so for those reasons, I'm just staying away from the Patriots altogether.
I like that. So you're not buying Stevenson to still take over, be as drafted as high as he's going?
Nope. Because Bill Belichick's just going to be Bill Belichick. And there's just no way I'm drafting a Patriot running back ever.
Fair enough.
So long as he's the coach.
Rocco, what do you got?
I'm going to stay away from the Bills because I've gone there before and it bit me, and I'm never going to touch, the Bills running backs again when it comes to fantasy football. That's just my reasoning as far as it goes. Like, I think I had Singletary a few years ago, and I was like, all right, this dude's going to ball out. It's going to be great. And like, I got him later, but it just didn't really work out for me. So that's what I'm going with.
Well, there you go. I have it. You know what?
No, I said there are definitely other running back rooms I'd stay away from in fantasy football. But like right now, just like thinking like off the top of my head, I wouldn't go near the Bills.
Yeah. I'm going to stay I think it's interesting. We're all in the AFC East here. And I'm going to say, actually, I am going to stay away from the New York Jets situation, and mainly because of value, because Breece Hall's value is high. I'm not going to waste a top 3 round pick with his situation. And then you have Dalvin Cook, which he would be the value guy that I'd want. So maybe I would take a chance on Dalvin Cook in the future. But to be honest, I don't like figuring out what's going to happen down the road. That's just something that is just like, hey, maybe if anything, I'm taking Dalvin Cook for value later. I love Breece Hall as a player, but that just seems like I don't know what to think of it. No, thank you. So I think, AFC East, bananas, crazy.
Stay away.
Hey,
stay away from that whole division.
All right, last one, Brad. You finish it off.
Let's do it. All right, I'm going to kick it off to you, Ryan. George Pickens will catch blank tuds than Justin Jefferson.
So really, it's going to be more or less.
Yeah.
And it actually got brought up because Ryan Clark said that George Pickens is more talented than Jefferson, which kind of like shocks some people. There's a difference between talent and being the best. Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver because he's very talented, but he knows what he's doing. And that is something, that's why Justin Jefferson's the best. A lot of wide receivers have talent. He knows exactly what he's doing with the talent that he has. I think George Pickens will have less touchdowns because of the fact that Jefferson honestly had an unbelievable year, but he didn't have a extremely high touchdown catches. And I think because of last year with the Steelers, Deontay Johnson really didn't make any noise. It was a weird year for him because he couldn't find the end zone. I think more passes are going to go to Freiermuth as well in the Steelers. Pickens, I think, has a better year in year two for himself, but I got to go with Jefferson. I think he gets double digits this year.
I would go with, so we're asking with.
You can say more, less, or give a number. Like you can say he's going to have, they're going to be even, two more, yada, yada.
I'm just going to go with less. And I'll say that, I'll say this. I think Pickens is going to be the next great Steelers wide receiver. And I think he's on that upward trajectory of getting there. It's like you talk about the Hines Wars, the Antonio Browns, as much as I'm not a big fan of Antonio Brown, but like the guys in recent years, like in the last couple of decades, not going back to the Lynn Swans, the John Stallworths, all those guys, but like I think Pickens, when it's all said and done, is going to be up there with all those guys because of his physicality, what he's able to do. I mean, this guy's a dog. Like he really is. And just it was funny. Marlon Humphrey said last year, he's like, I don't want to get, put on my rear end with George Pickens with the NBA young boy, like attitude that he has. And it's just like, it was funny because he's such a physical receiver. So I think that maybe like next year you ask me the same question, I might think differently, but Justin Jefferson's still the guy. I think less right now for Pickens.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy to kind of, I think maybe Clark's take was taken a little bit out of context, but I think it was still a bit of a bold statement. I'm going Justin Jefferson's going to have way more touchdowns than Pick. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Maybe not way more, but he's definitely having more touchdowns. And the reason for me is that it's not necessarily so much of like who's more talented, but who's the targets. Like I feel like that Justin Jefferson's like the only guy really to throw to, right? You got Adam Thielen, but like,
well, no, Adam's gone now. It's Addison. Addison is now.
Oh, that's right. So
Addison, not Adam Thielen. He's in Carolina. Addison's there, but to your point, Jefferson's the guy where Pickens is not necessarily the guy yet.
Yes. So thanks for the correction. Appreciate that. Anyways, that's my point. I think that he's just going to have way more targets than Pickens will.
I'd agree.
I'd agree too. And also I think the yardage would come down. 1,800 yards is a lot to replicate. Jefferson can do it. I think if the yardage goes down, I think he can get more than 8 touchdowns, which is what Jefferson had last year. So if the yardage drops, I think Jefferson's gonna, and it might drop to 1,600, and he'll have 15 touchdowns.
He's just
1,800 yards is what wide receivers would hope to have in 2 years combined. That's just like wild.
Yeah.
He is something special. Hey, that'll close out, finish this fantasy edition. we're going to run through quickly. I know we're pinched on time, but we'll run a little bit over because you know what? Why not? Screw it. We're here. We're having fun. Rocco never has Thursdays off. He'd just be saddled up somewhere making a bad decision. So, yeah, probably. So love to see it, hate to see it. For all those that are tuning in, we do this every week. We have moments which we love to see, and then we talk about things we hate to see across sports and across just anything that we want to talk about. So Brad, kick us off for our love to see it, hate to see it.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna let me see if
best home run hitter with 18.
There it is. Here's my love to see it.
Rodriguez powers this one into center. Set in front of the wall, and Cedric Mullins has not missed a beat.
All right. So this is my love to see it was Cedric Mullins' return to the Orioles. Obviously, this past week he had what was this, the fourth play of the week for one player this year. He robbed a home run, then hit a home run in the next inning. That is just something, even if you're not an Orioles fan, you're just a fan of baseball, you love to see.
Said he's back.
Said he's back.
Perfect. Rock. Take it away.
This is just a love to see it, right? Not to hate to see it.
Yeah. Just
All right.
love.
My love to see it is John Means. It's going to also be Orioles related. John Means progressing, making his way back, potentially set for an early September return. And as an Orioles fan, I think you just really love to see it. And he's going to be some bullpen help for the club as they try to make a really deep postseason run. So John Means coming off the elbow injury, having some setbacks, not being able to play baseball for however many days. It's been at least a year at this point. So John Means, like, being back, playing baseball again and coming back to the show in due time is going to be great. I love to see that.
Love to see it. And then they're going to need it right down the stretch. And he's a guy that people forget was the Orioles ace before everything changed. The guy the Orioles could really use. I love to see it. We're going to stick baseball. And it's mainly, I appreciate good baseball. I appreciate teams that go out and play well. The Los Angeles Dodgers are 14-1 in the month of August right now. Let me repeat that again. The Los Angeles Dodgers are 14-1 in the month of August. Yes, you can say they played the A's for a series. Well, they played the Padres, and actually their only loss of this month was one game to the Padres. Then they were able to take care of the Diamondbacks, take care of the Rockies, and so far they took care of the Brewers the last 2 days, who are leading the NL Central. So I just love to see it. It's truly special. I think people, whether you like teams or not, like, you got to appreciate greatness. I do love to see that the Dodgers are doing something that I just think is really cool. Now, hate to see it. We're going to go in reverse order here. Actually, since I'm the one starting all this, I'm going to start to hate to see it. I absolutely hate to see that there is some issue with Madden yet again on the fact that they had a launch, I believe, early for people that paid extra for like the deluxe edition. And again, like, it's no knock to any specific person, but you hate to see it when people pay extra for your product just to have one mode available. I think it was like quick play. And that was like one of the perks of getting the game. You just hate to see it, and it's just not the start that you want, because Madden has been under so much criticism really over the last like 10 years.
Yeah, this is what it is. I don't know if I'm getting it this year. Just who knows? My hate to see it is the Ravens' health become an issue again. You hate to see guys go down, guys undergo surgery, miss any time, whether it's 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, the entire season. It's something you hate to see. It kind of steals the fans' joy of potentially seeing what a healthy Ravens team the entire season looks like, because really haven't gotten to experience that the last couple of years, especially. So I do hate to see that. Hopefully Marlon makes a great recovery, Pepe Williams too, and they're both back out on the field in due time.
Love
Amen.
it. I agree. And my hate to see it is not sports related at all. And it's
Perfect.
a little bit late as far as news is concerned, but since I don't think you guys are into cars as much as I am, but the muscle car is dead. I think it's dead. I think I don't think we're going to see muscle cars anymore in our lifetime as far as production's concerned. If you guys didn't catch the news, Dodge plans to stop making its Charger and Challenger sedans in 2023, as well as the Chrysler 300. Those were like the muscle car to have. I mean, obviously there's a Camaro that's out there too, but like Dodge was the one that just made everything go fast. They took, high horsepower engines and just stuffed them into everything that they could. And that's going away because they are now just going to the EV side of things, which I understand, but I just hate it because I do love a good muscle car, and those are going to be no longer, unfortunately. Hate to see it.
Hey, this is kind of a breaking news from what I saw from my story here, and I want to hear your opinion real quickly. Love it, love to see it, or hate to see it. Shannon Sharp made his decision. Did you guys see that?
No.
Yeah.
There's a report that came out according to my phone, and I'm going to look at it again. I swear I just saw this on my phone, and I don't want to spew wrong information.
I know what you're talking about.
Hold on, I got you. Here you go.
So it's been announced that Shannon Sharp is going to First Take on ESPN. Love to see it or hate to see it? Rocco, start with you.
If it's actually happening, because per my sports update, I don't know if that's like the greatest source of information possible, but if it is happening, I think it's going to be because I also saw it with.
Well, here you go. Dove Kleiman put it up.
Well, someone got Dove Kleiman, so that's also not good. But that guy just takes people's content and kind of uses them as his own. But
there's a lot of there's a lot of people that Front Office Sports reported it. Ari with the 33rd team reported it.
If it like I said, if it is happening,
this is per Sports Report.
If it is happening and it's official, like I said, if it is, I think that is great for TV as far as talk shows go. I think you're going to have to lower the volume on your TV because Stephen A. Smith just yells as it is, and like, love him or hate him, but that's what he brings. He just screams his opinion. Shannon Sharp, the same thing. These guys are going to butt heads. It's going to be, I think, some very entertaining TV, and it's like going to make for some really good hot takes is what I'm saying. So I think it's solid.
Brad,
I love to see it only because it just makes me laugh and smile every time I hear Shannon Sharp say bull jive.
You gotta love Shannon. It's great. I'm really curious to see it. It's gonna be something, that's for sure. All right. Well, we've run long, but we got to talk a little bit about baseball here because that's something we always do, and it's an off night, and that's something that we know with people that come on want us to talk about. So we're gonna run through this, and again, for those that don't know, Brad and I are doing this show every Thursday. We are going to be at the Chaucer in Canton next Thursday in Baltimore, Maryland, live for a show. Come by, stop by, talk. We can talk some shop, talk about what you want to talk about. There's going to be more coming on social media here soon. We'd love to see you there. And before then, if you're going to the Orioles game for some reason, I'll be at Pickles doing pregame for 105.7. Come by, say what's up. Not you, Rocco. And the where's it going from there? Losing my train of thought. It's fine. Don't worry about it, Ryan. So we're going to dive into quickly then about some situations around Major League Baseball before we dive into the Orioles. First one being the Wander Franco situation. You want to talk about, we're not going to talk about it here, but the Orioles had an interesting couple weeks of distractions. Now the Tampa Bay Rays are dealing with something far more alarming, in a situation. And now there's claims being put out there. And again, this is always per source. But that that things are not looking good for Wander Franco. It could be the last time we ever see him play in Major League Baseball again. And for those that are not new to this story, Wander Franco, it was put on the restricted list, did not travel with the team after an investigation of him possibly having a relationship with a minor. Essentially, reports were going out there. I've seen different ages, but regardless, it's a serious situation with that. But man, how about it, guys? I mean, the Tampa Bay Rays. That's a heavy cloud to have over your head. And on top of this, not that the Wander Franco situation, Shane McClanahan just got ruled out for the year. Now, I mean, he's been ruled out, but he's probably going to miss all of 2024 with Tommy John surgery. So really, if you're a Rays fan, tough sledding on that. You guys can batter up here. What's your take on the Rays here? Do you think that the Rays can find their way to stay in the hunt for the American League East, and they only sit 2 back as we're having this conversation?
I'm not sure right now. I want to say, like, I don't want to say anything. I really don't know, because when 2 of your top players, for completely different reasons, potentially may not be with the team, I mean, for the entire this season, not only, but next season as well. It's just like crazy to think about. And the start this team had, no one was sure that anybody in baseball, let alone the AL East, was going to be able to catch them. The Orioles have done that, and they've kept them at arm's length in the AL East. 2-3 games back, it jumps, it goes down, but like in that area as far as that goes. But I think I can't even imagine like what that does to a locker room, losing 2 of your players, and like you got to figure out, like, okay, that aside, we have to go back to try and winning baseball games now. And that could be tough to do, because that's got to, like, the guys that are there, that's got to kind of mess with them a little bit. Am I right, or am I wrong, like, with that?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a brutal situation. I can dive more in from putting my player's hat on here in a second, but Brad, your opening thoughts with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a distraction for sure, without question. I think that there is some real concern, I think, if you're a Rays fan or the Rays organization, as far as what it looks like down the stretch. I mean, we just talked about, the Dodgers going 14-1, and obviously not, completely related, but I just wanted to point that out because of what it's like going into the postseason. It's not always, and we saw this last year, right? The Braves were the best team in baseball, but couldn't cut it because they weren't the hottest team in baseball. And so, going into the postseason, you want to be the hottest team. And with these distractions and now players that are not going to be on your team, you got to wonder if they're going to actually get hot at the right time. And I'm just not quite sure that they're going to do it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'll say this from playing and being in certain situations, players can say all they want that's not going to be a distraction, or they can go out there and really it might not, but subconsciously there's things going on. It's just something that kind of weighs over your head, whether you really acknowledge it or not. But I will say this with the Tampa Bay Rays. If there is one team that I've seen over the years that just whatever happens, they're just a oiled machine where they're able to go out there and continue to compete, it's going to be the Rays. They did it last year, having a lot of injuries. I mean, shoot, they're sitting 2 games back. I thought it was the most impressive win. The fact that they went to San Francisco, who is also playing some good baseball, and go out there on the first day of all this and they go out and they put it to them. They win that series, and they're keeping themselves in the running. I think the more you can just take it day by day, that's going to help you, because as soon as you start looking towards the finish line or what's going to happen and you're looking up, that's where I think it can hit you more. And you really got to have tunnel vision. I do think the Rays can pull it off. I don't hope that it is for Orioles fans, but that is something to consider. But again, it's just people want to focus on baseball. And for the Rays right now, it's just when it rains, it pours sometimes. For them, it's pouring, but an organization who I've mentioned in the past, they have the 4th most wins in all of Major League Baseball since 2010. So if there's a team that can figure some things out with not a big payroll, Tampa Bay Rays. So whammy with that. Now let's just kind of move forward into the Orioles. And Rock, we're going to talk about it more on Sunday when we record our new episode. We're going to talk then about this series with the A's. But fellas, Padres. How the hell are the Padres 5 games under 500 after watching the series?
I really don't know. And you look at the personnel on the Padres and the talent that they have, it just makes zero sense. And Ryan, we talked about this on a previous stream where, you know, we talked about this series in particular. We talked about the Orioles and the schedule that they had after the All-Star break. And so far, they're obviously doing extremely well. But we had this Padres series kind of circled because you said that Padres weren't doing good as far as their record is concerned. But you mentioned the talent that they had, and they could just go off at any moment. And we saw that over the last few days.
Yeah. I mean, Rock, we did talk about it too, of they're not out of it yet either. I mean, the Padres are sitting here as we're talking about this right now. They're sitting 4.5 out of the final wild card spot as we are recording this.
Yeah, they have one of the most talented rosters in all of baseball, some of the biggest names in baseball. And it's surprising to see what their record is after they just went to the NLCS last season. It's like, I mean, it kind of baffles you to see. Not only do they have all their guys, like all their big names, they have Tatis back.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are we doing here? So it's a team that is playing good baseball right now. I mean, they just showed it against the, like right now and after that current series, but is it not too little too late, but is it too late for them to make a postseason push? And I'm not sure if it is, but like when you're looking at it right now, it just, you really don't know. But I mean, they played really good baseball against the O's for sure. It was like, all right, this team's got what it takes, but they're not playing like the entire season for a full 162 games.
Hey, I want to throw this at you guys right now. And this is what's baffling to me, right? So the Atlanta Braves and the Dodgers, obviously the 2 best teams in the National League. Their run differential is their first and second, plus 208, plus 146. The 3rd highest run differential in the National League is the San Diego Padres. They are 5th in all of baseball in team ERA. So when you think of those 2 things, how aren't you winning more games? And the reason, if you want to dive into it more, San Diego is barely over 500 at home, and they have a losing record to teams that are over 500, and that is up to 78 of their total games. They don't have to mess with the Dodgers down the stretch, that's something that of a relief because the Dodgers are red hot, but they are going to have some tough games, at least against teams like the Astros, the Phillies. They got to play the Giants. But they do get the Athletics, the Rockies, the struggling Cardinals, and the White Sox. Hey, you never know, right? But crazy. How and just for context here, by the way, do you guys want to know what the Orioles run differential is? Take a guess.
I believe they're top 10 in all of Major League Baseball.
Well, give me a number. If the Padres are 64 plus 64, what are the Orioles? Don't look it up either.
I'm looking at it right now.
Don't do it. Brad, give me a guess.
They're not baseball, by the way. So Brad, give us a guess.
Plus, I don't know, 55?
Close.
Okay.
Rocco, you want to do the honors?
I can because I cheated. Plus 58.
Oh, that was damn close.
3 runs off.
So the Orioles are 27 games over 500, but only have a plus 58 run differential, which is less than the San Diego Padres. And to give people context of this, the reason why the Orioles are playing so well the biggest reasons to me, they are unbelievable in close games. They are at the top of that list. Same thing with comeback victories. And they also are 40-30 against teams over 500. Obviously, they have great records home or away, but that's the reality. Can you win against good teams, and can you win the close games? The Orioles, even though they play in a lot of close games, they've learned how to win them. Whammy on that.
If you told me, I'm trying to think about how to word this. If I had been out of baseball for the last 10 years and you told me, oh, I don't know, maybe not last 10 years, but anyways, you told me that Gary Sanchez, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, and Fernando Tatis were all on the same team, and you asked me to guess the team, I would have said something like the Yankees or what have you. Like that's the caliber players that are on the Padres, and you just think that they would have a better record than they do. It's just wild. And some of the stats that you just routed off, Ryan, just makes it even more perplexing.
Yeah. And you know, Rick says right here, stats don't always tell the story, which is 1,000% true, right? Because that's why I get aggravated when people keep saying the Orioles aren't deserving to be, or it's your record is what it is. And you're not. Yeah. And the reason why like at the end of the day, winning close games is the most important thing that you can do in your situation. And the Orioles, in this case, have played in the most close games. Yep. And hey, if you're to play in most close games, if you blow a team out by 10 or you win by 1, it counts the same. And the Orioles have really learned how to handle their business. And that's the reason why they're doing this. The Padres, they can play with anybody, but man, they also can lose to anybody. A hot topic, gents, because I'll spearhead this baseball part. Brad, I know we want to talk about it. The 2 trade acquisitions. I think that I have my opinions here, so I'm gonna stand back a little bit. But I'm talking about Shintaro Fujinami and Jack Flaherty. Rocco, we've talked about this before, but some people are starting to worry. I'm going to save my thoughts here. Is there any worry that you have for the 2 acquisitions that the Orioles have had? Flaherty obviously had his roughest start. Fuji has had his moments, but also his inconsistencies are documented.
What do we have? A month and a few days left in the regular season. I think that'll be a good barometer as far as if we should worry or not. I think right now you got to think Fujinami was not great with the A's as a starter. And then he moved to the bullpen and he got better. I mean, his ERA doesn't really, show him any love having a +8 ERA coming over here. But Mike Elias is not going to go out and get a guy that is a bona fide scrub, as Stephen A. Smith would say. Like he's not going to get a guy that is just like bottom of the barrel ERA wise if he doesn't see potential in him. And I think what the O's saw in Fujinami is what we are seeing when he's at the top of his game. And that's the ability to throw gas, locate it, nasty splitter, a high-speed fastball. And this is a guy, if the O's pitching staff continues to work with him, because right now he's still a work in progress. He really is. He's not perfect on the mound, and he might not be for some time, but they're working with him, and I truly trust in the O's pitching staff that, their coaches, that they're going to get him right and get him consistent. And we've seen flashes of it. So with Fujinami, I wouldn't worry too much about him until it's like late in September and he's, walking the bases loaded and hitting 2 guys. Get that out now. Get it out now. Fine. Obviously, you still want to win the division, so don't do it too much. But 1 game we can deal with. When it starts to become 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row, then it's going to become an issue. As far as Flaherty goes, I think he had 1 bad outing. I think they jumped on him early in that inning. And he gives up the grand slam early. That doesn't help, and that doesn't help a pitcher's confidence. I think Flaherty's going to be just fine. He's 27 years old. I asked you, Rip, before, like, does he have to be the guy? we don't think he has to be the guy, but you think that he can be the guy. I think he can as well. So looking at the rotation, I think Flaherty doesn't have to lead the way right now, but he can lead the way going forward if he has to.
I agree. I think
That
the dead silence.
Yeah. Radio silent.
Oh, I didn't know if Brad wanted to say anything, and I get it. You're giving me shit that it was called the Ryan Ripken Show. So I mean, hell, yeah.
So what I will say is that Fuji has shown enough for me, for me to have an opinion that he is that dude. I mean, I think that we're going to see more of the Fuji that we saw against the Rays than not. And Flaherty, same thing. Well, I think that with Flaherty having a change of scenery from St. Louis, and the Flaherty that we saw in Toronto is probably more of the Flaherty that we're going to see moving forward. So I don't think that there's any real cause for concern here. Fuji's going to have his inconsistencies that we already knew about anyway. But at the same time, the guy's just lights out. I mean, it's really hard to hit a baseball at 103 miles an hour.
And that, I love that you brought that up. So for one, and everyone go read my tweets. I don't mix words with it. I think that Fuji can be very special, and you have to keep faith with guys in situations. And I know you can look at it and go, well, wait a minute, like he's 29 years old or whatever. He's not a rookie. Well, he is a rookie in Major League Baseball. It's first time playing in America. Steve Johnson talked about last week that the balls in itself are different. You went from an organization in the Oakland A's that were just terrible, first off. And then secondly, you then come to a situation where every moment's tense now. You were a starter, then you're a reliever. The thing is that gets me, you can't teach what he has. You can help people get better, but you can't teach to throw that hard. And I would be worried if Fuji didn't have dominant moments. But here's the thing. He almost had an immaculate inning. He almost had where he had a save against the Mariners. So he showed that he can bounce back in situations. And with that guy on second base, he needs to get more consistent out of the stretch and be more out of the stretch with runners on base. But when I say it's this much of a difference to get to being fixed, it really is. And once that moment comes, people are going to be sitting here going, well, man, like I can't believe I doubted it, because those are guys you don't let go of. And there's a reason why, and I bring it up. Felix Bautista was this exact way. Felix Bautista had a very tough time getting out of a certain level in the minors, but the Orioles were looking at going, well, he's got a lot of talent. We're not just going to give up on him, and we're going to let him try to figure it out. And yes, he was way younger than Fuji, but the point is that talent doesn't just exist everywhere. So stay with him. Flaherty, on the same thing with you guys. He's had two good starts for me, and then one, just the Padres just smacked him. Who cares? I want to see how he can bounce back. If he bounces back and the Orioles' MO this year is get punched in the mouth and bounce back from that punch.
Yep.
If Flaherty can do that with his start, that's the biggest thing. Then I'll go, yep, no problems. But if it's something that keeps going and lingers, then you're going to have the questions. But I think he's going to follow the MO of this Baltimore Orioles team. So for all those fans out there, stay with it. I want to make this point. It's my show. I can say whatever the hell I want, Rocco. Don't you look at me that way. The Orioles here, what they're doing on the road is unbelievable. To have that record on the road is, I can't tell you, this is not a common thing. To have a better road record than your home record is pretty remarkable. They're 38-24 on the road. So they're 3-3 on this road trip. They can come back and still be over 500 after this Oakland A's series. So this is still a very, very good road trip if they go to Oakland and take 2 or 3. Just pointing that out there. So everyone keep the faith. Things are good. It's not just everybody settle down. No reason to panic. That's it.
Love it. All right.
Mic drop.
We are finally done with this show. As we wind down, as we do with every show, guys, we're gonna close with that with Grinds My Gears. And Rocco, this is your first show here. First of all, thanks for taking the time, man, and hanging out with us. We certainly appreciate it. And we're gonna close out, like I said, with Grinds My Gears. Ryan, I know you can save it for when your turn comes here. But for me, you know what really grinds my gears?
What?
Pringle cans.
What?
Pringle cans grinds my gears. Why do you have to have chips in a tube that your hand doesn't even fit down in? Like, just make it a bag like everybody else. It makes no goddamn sense to me, and that is what grinds my gears this week.
It really, like, it's nice for like the first 2 Pringles. Like, this is nice. Cool.
I go the first handful. Like the first like you dip it in for like 5, that first like big stack you pull out, and then you're done. And then your hand
Rocco's
like
got small hands, I guess.
Yeah. I'm like Charlie Kelly's uncle from It's Always Sunny.
Oh God. It's, I guess like technically you can, dump the Pringle whatever the cylinder, but no one wants to do that. No one wants to do that.
Serial killers do that. You're not dumping chips out of a bag into your hand. It's just,
you know what? I will dump chips though onto like where my sandwich is. Just dump the bag of chips right there. But that's not your hands.
Yeah. It's not your hands, no.
It's not a Pringle. It's not a Pringle can. All right, Rocco, go ahead.
You guys want to know what really grinds my gears?
Please.
Spending 2 hours with Ryan on a show. That's no, I'm just kidding. Drivers, in all seriousness, I had a great time. Drivers who tailgate you when you can't go anywhere or when you're going with the flow of traffic and you're not in the left lane. So if I'm going the speed limit and I'm in the middle lane and I'm, maybe going a little bit over the speed limit, not technically speeding, but, we all do it. It's a little 5 mile per hour, maybe some 10 for some people out there. Who knows? I don't encourage it. Go the speed limit. But when you're this close to the back of my car, why shouldn't I brake check you? I don't, because I don't trust any drivers out there and I don't want to get into any road rage incidents. But like, you're driving a piece of heavy machinery and we're all trying to get to the same place. Just because you woke up late and you're late to something you have to do doesn't mean you can drive this far away from my car or my vehicle, because if I do have to stop, you're going to end up in my trunk. And that's kind of what I've said to some people sometimes. It's like, hey, like, would you like to put your car in my, in the back of my car's trunk? Because that's basically what you're doing. If I stop, that's where you're going to end up. And it is what it is. So that's really what grinds my gears. People who tailgate you on the road going at high speeds, like, it's crazy to me that's a thing.
Everything that you just said, I just took it as if I was a 12-year-old boy. And I feel like you're probably also one of those guys that has a bumper sticker on the back of your car that if you're going to follow me this close, at least pull my hair or something along those lines.
I do not have that. I do not have bumper stickers, Brad. You're going to get me in trouble. No,
yeah, buddy.
Bumper stickers. Sheesh.
There's some good bumper stickers out there.
Oh man.
You know what I forgot? I had another really good grind my gears, and I don't know why. It was a one off the cuff. Did I tell you it earlier, Brad?
No.
Damn. It's gonna bother me. That's actually a grind my gears thing. And it's actually a perfect segue. Grind my gears. When I have a plan that I want to do something, have it all planned out, and this is self-inflicted grind my gears here, first off, and then I don't write it down, and then I forget what the hell I'm talking about, and then I come up here sounding like a idiot. That's one of them. Oh, the other thing. Oh, it's with texting. If you hit me with a K, we're done. If you hit me with just a straight K, we're done. That's what really grinds my gears. If I ask you like a serious question or something going on, don't you do it. Don't you do it. But okay, but listen.
Rocco's literally like, wait a minute, it was that easy? That's all I had to do.
I think if we're having if there's a serious conversation and you put a lot of time and effort into either like writing out a message or an email and I just get a K response, that grinds my gears because say we're saying, hey, Rocco, we're have to stay late at the studio. I know you're by yourself and a lot of things are really troubling you. And I get this heartfelt thing and you hit me with a K. I'm going to throw you through a window, which you definitely just texted me K right now, didn't you?
I did. And yeah, it's a shame you moved to DC and, I'm here in Baltimore. So you have to drive like an hour to do that. And it's just like, pretty unfortunate for you. So I know now that I know that, and I don't like when people do that either, but it's always like your dad or your uncle or your aunt or like your mom, because they don't get the texting lingo that we get. It's like my uncle used to say like K all the time, and he didn't mean it like a jerk, but like that's how we used it. If someone
there are people that get passes.
Yes.
People get passes with the K. If one of you send me a K, and it's not like if I say, hey, I'm going to call you back, that's okay to do a K. If I give you an answer, like a legit, like, hey, I need an answer back from you, and you're mad at me, which could be another reason, but I get a really short K. Okay, like we're brawling next time I see you. We're gonna hash this out. That's my grind my gears. Finally, this show can end. You're welcome, Rocco. Yeah. So for everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. Next week, we'll be back. We'll be live at the Chaucer on the 24th. Mark your calendars. We're eventually going to be doing this multiple times a week, though. So stay tuned for that announcement. Brad, any final closing remarks?
That's it. I'm tired.
Same.
Get out of here.
Hey, Rock, appreciate you coming on, man. And everyone tuning in, thank you so much. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Ryan Ripken Show. Have a great evening. Except you, Rocco.
Thanks, guys. See you next week, guys.
Yeah, thanks.